Hi, fellow YouTubers out there. This is Tony Spera on the official Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren YouTube channel. I wish you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button. I've got a lot of good videos coming up, but right now I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you something in the museum that most people don't know about, or at least they don't know a lot about. I'll tell you the whole story. Here it is. It's the White Lady of Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut. Now this story goes back probably 80, 90 years, maybe more than 90. Here is the story of the White Lady, how we learned about it. Back in about 1990, a young man by the name of Rod was driving home from work. He worked the 4 to 12 shift at Home Depot, I believe in Bridgeport, and he was on his way to Monroe. And he took Route 59 through Easton into Monroe. And as he was passing Sport Hill Road intersection and Route 59 in Easton, there's a cemetery called the Union Cemetery. And he's going by it at about 1:45 at night. As he's going by, he said he sensed something in his passenger seat. So he glances over towards his passenger seat and he sees a man dressed in like 1940s garb and with a crumpled hat, stubbly beard. He does like a double take, as you would, and he looks and the guy is gone. He looks back at the roadway. About 35 yards in front of him was this entity. Now this is a representation, of course, of the White Lady and the gown that she has been described as wearing, like a wedding gown with a veil. And he said he saw this woman all dressed in white standing in the middle of the road on Route 59. She had her hand up as to beckon him to stop. And as he applied the brakes, he said he wasn't going very fast, about 35 miles an hour. As he applied the brakes, she immediately came close, like an instant closeness to his vehicle. And suddenly he felt like a wisp of air go by his right ear. And he said it was the White Lady that went right through his car. He was stunned. He was emotional. He looks back at the road, only on his side. The whole road was drenched in like a deep burgundy red, like somebody painted his side of the road only in a deep burgundy red. What does he do? He's all upset. He drives home. He said he felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow when that entity or that wind went by his ear. And all the way home, it's all he could think about. He gets home at about 1 or so, wakes his wife up, and starts to cry, sob openly. And she said, "Rod, what's the matter?" And he started to tell her the story about what happened to him on the way home and how he felt this deep emotional connection to the White Lady. So what did he do? The next morning, he contacted Ed Warren. Ed said, hey, Rod, can you come over to the house and I'll interview you? So Rod did come over and spoke to Ed about an hour, talking about his life and talking about the incident that happened with the White Lady. What did Ed do? Ed went out there and tried to capture the White Lady on a video. And this is 1990, remember, the video wasn't done very well. Lousy resolution. But Ed did capture the White Lady. Now, I haven't shown that White Lady video that Ed captured on the 7th night out there. Ed spent 7 nights from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the Union Graveyard. He sat in his van. He had the VHS camcorder on a tripod. On the 7th night, he was rewarded with this white, glimmering, shimmering entity going through the graveyard and flittering through the stones, almost translucent. But how do we know that Rod's story is even real? Did he make it up? Was he just looking for glory or something? Well, I got to tell you something. First of all, I knew Rod very well. Unfortunately, Rod has since passed away. Very, very unfortunate. He was a great man. Very, very intuitive, very sensitive man. But I have to tell you, only about 2.5 to 3 years ago, maybe 3, I was in a diner with my wife and with Lorraine. And Lorraine was much better 3.5 years ago. She could converse with people and everything. She was there in the booth, and so was I at a pizza place. As we're getting ready to leave, an older man, elderly actually, about 85 years old. He had a Marine Corps baseball hat on. Walked over to the table and said, "Lorraine, it's been years since I've seen you." Now, she didn't really recognize the guy, but she said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" That's how Lorraine was. You know, she was friendly to everyone. And he starts to talk about the movie. At the time, it was like The Conjuring 1 or 2. I forget which one was just released. And as he's walking away, he says to Lorraine, "But I know this stuff is true." When he said that, it kind of piqued my interest. I said, "Joe, how do you know it's true? What do you mean? Why are you saying you know this stuff is true?" And he related an incident to me and to Lorraine and to Judy that was almost exactly what Rod Vesey had said. Rod had said about the white lady appearing in the road and the man in the seat and the blood red road. This older man said he was coming home from work about 7:30 at night. All of a sudden, he said there was a man with a pointed hat in his passenger seat, and the guy was pointing with he had a pointed hat, but he's pointing with his finger towards the road. This elderly man looks towards the road and sees a woman dressed in white at the corner of the road. And then he said, "I thought I could have hit her with my bumper. I wasn't sure." He goes, "But then I'm driving down the road about a mile, and I see this pink stuff on the side of my road." I said, "What do you mean, pink?" He goes, "Yeah, like it was painted pink, almost the same as Rod." And then he said he felt so terrible that he might have hit her. He had to satisfy himself. He drove back to look for the lady just in case. There was no lady, of course, no pink in the road, nothing. It was gone. So I said to this older guy, Joe, I said, "Joe, how long ago was this?" He said, "Oh, back in the 1970s. So it was like 20 years before Rod had his incident that he reported to Ed Warren. 20 years before, this guy Joe said he had a similar incident happen to him. So I believe it. That's a testimony that wasn't solicited by me or anybody else. The White Lady of Union Cemetery. You can look it up on Google. It's probably the most haunted cemetery, I'd say, if not in Connecticut, in the United States. Now, I must forewarn you, don't just go there hoping to see the White Lady, because if you go there at night, when most people do, the Easton Police Department will be very upset. They will go in there and they will give you a trespass ticket, which is way over $100 now for a simple trespass. Because when this was first became famous, when Ed first talked about it and his lectures and such, kids were going from all over the place, going to that graveyard. But what were they doing? Were they being respectful? No. They were drinking, throwing beer bottles against the stones, actually breaking the stones, doing just terrible things in the graveyard, so the police shut it all down. If you go there, you can go during the daylight hours. It's open during the day. Nobody's going to bother you. But at nighttime, you'll have a major problem. So that is the story of the White Lady of Union Graveyard. There's actually more to it. Actually, I can give you just a quick summary of the latest. A friend of ours named Glenn, he was a volunteer fireman. This was back after Rod had seen the White Lady. And he was driving to a transformer fire in Stepney, which is a part of Monroe. And he had an off-duty police officer with him, and he was driving a pickup truck. And as he's driving to these three transformer fires during a thunderstorm that were burning near the Stepney graveyard, which is about 3 miles from Union, the off-duty police officer yells to Glenn, "Hey Glenn, watch out for that lady." And Glenn looks back, and before he could even apply his brakes, boom, he hits a solid object. And it was a woman dressed in white. He slams on the brakes, jumps out of the vehicle with the police officer. A woman that happened to be following the pickup truck pulled up behind Glenn, all upset, jumps out of her car and said, "Didn't you see that lady in the road?" And Glenn and the other off-duty cop are looking around. They're saying, "What lady? Ma'am, what lady?" There was no lady there. And Glenn was so upset that he called the state police barracks, called Monroe police, called area hospitals, and nobody reported an accident of a woman. It was the White Lady who solidified to such an extent that she, from the energy in the air, from the electromagnetic energy that was spewing out of those transformers, that she solidified so much, that she actually dented the front hood of his pickup. I know it's hard to believe. A lot of you people say this is a bunch of bunk, but it's not. Glenn is a very credible witness. We got a statement from Glenn back then, and we believe him, we believe Rod, and I believe the old man too, the old man Joe. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the story of the White Lady of Union Graveyard. I'd very much like you guys to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll have another great artifact to show you. This is Tony Sparrow signing off. Thanks.